Hi, everyone. So today is Friday, and welcome to this very special live interview on X being simulcast on Reddit. We appreciate those viewers and listeners out there with Reddit, and also with a rebroadcast on YouTube as well. So let me introduce myself. I am Laptop Travel, a 45-year veteran who's spent decades navigating every kind of market you can imagine. And the market we're seeing today is nothing compared to what we've had. I'm My experience goes back to before the crash of 1987. These days, I run an investment newsletter and I conduct deep dive research and work within the story trading Discord community as an analyst, where we focus on the real stories that actually move stocks, not just the noise. So please follow me here on X for great stock picks and investing ideas. So, a quick disclaimer before we dive in. Nothing said here today by me or our guests should be taken as investment advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any security. This is for informational entertainment purposes only. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a qualified financial advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Markets can be volatile and you could lose money. So, with that out of the way, welcome to today's live investor session. And we're joined by the CEO, Oren Elkayam of Mobilicom. And Mobilicom provides critical hardware, software, and cybersecurity solutions that serve as the heart and soul of modern drones and robotic platforms, with expanding global demand driven by rising defense spending and next generation battlefield technology. So, whether you're a current shareholder or an investor seeking exposure to this next generation defense technology, uh, security, communications, and cybersecurity solutions, today's interview will dive into Mobilicom's strategic vision and the key to their operational milestones ahead, and how the company is positioned to capitalize on the growing demand for resilient drone, and AI enabled defense and critical infrastructure protection systems. So, Oren, to start off with, for investors who may be new to Mobilicom or just catching up since your last interview or discussion, could you please provide like a high level introduction to the company today? What is Mobilicom's core value proposition with this intersection of drones, robotic autonomy, and cybersecurity? How do you see it evolving? And briefly touch on how geopolitical issues today might be affecting your business model.
Of cybersecurity, of software and hardware, which are the cores of drones and robotics that we are using today in defense as well as in commercial market. Mobilicom offers the elements that allow them to operate, allow them to communicate, allow them to safeguard themselves during their mission. And Mobilicom doesn't do another drone. We are essentially the provider of the critical system to the drones and robotics manufacturers. We are known for two of our segments. We have one segment of hardware solutions, which are highly incorporated with our IP, know-how, and software. Therefore, we have high gross margin on those. Those are three families of products. One is the uh, data link and communication. The second one is ground control station that operate the mission. And the third is the ability to create mesh networking among fleets and swarms, where is the drones evolution is going to. And on the software and cybersecurity, we are well known for being the first with the cybersecurity for the AI autonomy evolving revolution, where we are providing the capabilities to safeguard the NVIDIA and Qualcomm AI machines at the edge and the operations of the drone platform as a platform with our OS3 operating security, safety, compliance solution, our secured autonomy, and also with our ICE, which is the electronic warfare resistance software that we provided. So we have software and hardware and cross-selling across the different solutions, and that's the unique position of Mobilicom.
Wow. Uh, what is if we look at the current revenue for the company, what do you say is the mix between hardware and your higher margin software cybersecurity offerings? How do you expect this mix to maybe evolve over the next 12 to 24 months?
So I would say that currently the current products that were known in the market, certified by the US government in using programs of record and additional certification and regulation that we achieved, are delivering the majority of the revenue, something like above 90%. But we are seeing increase in our ICE electronic warfare software deployments, which will increase the revenue from the software, followed by our cybersecurity solutions will kick in 2027. We believe that currently with the hardware solution, you can see that our gross margin is very steep, which is between 50 to 60%. And it's mainly because we own the IP for every bit and byte of our solutions, and also because this is a very highly capable solution defined by software radios, and that's the hardware portion and gross margin. As we evolve to more software and cyber, those are 90% gross margin solution, and as the mix will evolve higher and higher to 20, 30, 40% of the software and cybersecurity going forward, that will also transit the entire gross margin of the entire company.
Wow, that's impressive. Uh, can you walk us through maybe the key differentiators of your ICE suite and your newly launched Skyhopper multi-band SDR? So, how do these enable reliable operations in what we're seeing today is jammed, intercepted, or electronic warfare heavy environments that we're seeing like in the Ukraine and currently in the Middle East?
So the I solution was a solution that we've created, I think, more than 4 years ago. That was due to events and threats that we've seen in the Middle East, where our solution was operating in combat already back then, and on the borderlines, where we've seen Iranian, Russian, and other electronic warfare and jamming interception equipment trying to block the operations of different systems. Back then, we worked with the Israeli Ministry of Defense and developed a set of capabilities that the ICE has, which has three key aspects. I stand for immunity and cybersecurity and encryption, which means that you are protecting the data of the drones online and offline. You are protecting the mission capability by resilient and operating the data link and communication between the drone and the operator, and you are safeguarding the communication from different penetration or other attacks on the data link and communication. And by that, you guarantee mission continuity in severe conditions, which we've seen more and more. You mentioned Ukraine, but it's seen across the globe. Now our solution that are operated successfully, obviously in Israel, in Europe, in Ukraine, in the United States, were tested, validated, and approved with our ICE electronic warfare and cybersecurity of the communication and data link. That's in addition a software license to the Skyhopper family in general. And you also mentioned the newly released the Skyhopper new member of the family, which is Skyhopper Multiband. And the Skyhopper
Yeah.
Multiband, some said to me, hey, we've seen similar solution by competitors. What's the new innovation here? And I would like to maybe focus on that for a few seconds. The ICE Multiband came to solve three critical aspects and deliver the best of breed in the industry today for the small size drones solution that we are targeting. Yes, you can do amazing things if you have the space, the price, the size, and so on. But if you are constrained to small elements that have to fit into small size drones and loitering munition, it's obviously a challenge, and we've done it. We provide twice as much the frequency band operation than any radio in the market used by United States or elsewhere in that solution. So we enable much more capability to switch and jump in frequency and avoid interception and not be affected by the different operational threats that we see in the market by Russian and others. Second, we provide resiliency, which is can double the distance or operate twice better than anything else in the market because of that frequency capabilities and other bands and more. And so you either can use it for larger distance or for more resiliency. And today, when you see drones being used across the board in different nations and you have to sell it worldwide, if you each time have to choose the right radio and the right frequency for a different market, your production is complex. If you have single radio SKU that can meet the requirements of United States and Europe and Middle East and Asia Pacific in single production, that's magic operation wise. And that solved the problems that we've seen by customers. So the ability to operate together with the ICE, where others cannot operate and give you the resiliency and guarantee the mission, and twice better or twice of the capabilities of anything that you see out there is the important thing. And then being able to produce it in mass scale to sell it worldwide without trying to evaluate which market you are going to target with that. You have single production to all the world. And that's the innovation behind that.
Wow. Again, very impressive. And I noticed recently that Mobilicom has received the FCC Trusted Drone designation. And in the United States, a lot of things have been talked about with drones, with DJI being I guess I would say banned, from the U.S. But Mobilicom's drones and robotics, cybersecurity, your hardware and software were included most recently in the FCC's first batch of trusted drones, and as determined by the U.S. Department of War. How has this impacted your forward-looking thoughts on the company with uh, opportunity for contracts and potential revenue stream?
So I think that we, as an industry, are going through a lot of change and revolutions in the recent years. One of them was the decision of United States to not only not, I mean, it started by not using a solution coming from China, drones and subsystem, which are clear threat to the U.S. security. And as a provider and a company that is based here, we are obviously very concerned from that for those threats to the defense forces and the federal market in the United States. Second, we've seen then different regulatory changes that even said that not just for federal and government and defense, but also some critical infrastructure, homeland security, and therefore also commercial applications. Some vendors or some subsystems and some components and some production done in China is not feasible anymore. And the recent requirement by this government continues that trend on using just American-made solutions and certified solutions. So we are obviously pleased with that. We believe that it's the best for the security on one hand of America, and on the other hand, for the success of the local market. And we believe that that's the way to go. We've done all the regulatory certification processes to be on the approved list, or a very limited number of companies and solutions that are on the approved list of America for defense and commercial. We have the Blue UAS framework, we have the Trusted Cyber, we have the NDAA compliance validation, we have registered on the electronic map of the armed forces with the DD 1494, and recently the FCC regulation. This regulation was just released a few weeks ago, and we are proud to say that because Mobilicom was declared as critical solution provider to the US solutions, and across the board, all our solutions, the cyber, the software, the electronic warfare, the hardware solution, are in the list of the FCC and the government for secured, safe solutions that got this waiver to be used no matter where it's produced. On the back of that, the Pentagon also had a discussion with us on how fast we can accelerate the expansion of our production in United States, because as really a solution of choice that is already incorporated in programs of record in America, we want to guarantee that we have multinational production, which guarantee the right the availability in masses in the right prices, but also made in America fully. And we would like to comply with all of those, and this is the plan. So by the end of 2026, based on the Pentagon request, we will also produce more in America and do flavors of the product which are 100% produced in America.
So you talked you talked about the needs of the U.S. So how do you see ongoing these geopolitical tensions and conflicts like the Ukraine, Middle East, what's going on, and potential flashpoints elsewhere, driving this? I'm obviously an accelerated demand, right, for secure drones and autonomy solutions. So are you seeing governments? I'm sorry, are you seeing governments and partners now pushing for and asking for shorter procurement timelines as a result? And are you able to meet those shorter timelines looking forward?
I believe that there is no question or any doubt in the industry and in the markets. I think that drones, robotics, and autonomous platforms are here to stay, and the acceleration is only getting more and more momentum. That is clear. And the market is experiencing a hyper growth that is going to be with us 5, 7, 10 years forward. And it's across the globe. Obviously, the defense market is the first market trigger that accelerate that from different reasons, but it also continues with the commercial market that will follow the same route. On the defense market, the recent conflicts, Ukraine and Russia, the Israeli conflict with Iran and other nations, the Middle East conflict right now with United States in Iran and other nations, recent conflict between Pakistan and India, and so forth. All of them have seen massive increase in the use of unmanned systems or autonomous system. Obviously in the air, definitely in sea, and also on the ground. And we see that across the board. And then some of them are for surveillance, intelligence, and operational means. Some of them is loitering, kamikaze elements that are crashing, burning. And instead of having soldiers in the front, now you will have more robotics and drones in the front, and soldiers will be at the back. So stand in and stand off, soldiers stand, drones or robotics stand in, and soldiers and people stand off. And that's what we're going to see as a trend which will accelerate. Number-wise, we've seen dramatic increase by Ukrainians using, in the last year, 5 million small drones or robotics in the battlefield. We've seen the Russians, with the help of the Iranians, production and factories, already in 3 million units last year. Just in the recent conflict, the amount of drones Iran sent against Arab nations in the Gulf was more than 5,000 systems in few weeks, more than 5,000 systems of long-range drones, attack drones. Obviously, US, Israel, and the allies are using a lot of drones to map, target, and so on. So it's there, it's accelerating, and that's clear. On the US soil, what we experience here is that there is acceleration of adoption of programs of record that are needed by the different corps, starting from SOCOM and Marines and activities that we see across the Army and definitely Air Force and the rest. And so all of them have programs. Some of them were already allocated, and we are proud to be part of those. And some of them are going to be allocated in the coming months and maybe a year, which means the trend, the budgets are there. Europe, experiencing high fear from war, is investing heavily into defense, and drones or robotics is part of that investment. The budget for the next 7 years, shifting from 1% GDP in Europe to 4 and 5% per nation in defense, is also accelerating that. So I gave numerous examples and figures and data why the market, definitely in the defense, but later on the commercial, is going to experience a huge growth of the usage of drones and robotics. And therefore, the game right now is no more who will bring additional technology, who can provide masses, who has certified solution that were proven to use by different hurdles, certification, regulation, that can now produce in masses to scale to meet the demand of every conflict. Because the conflict shows that we need thousands and thousands of systems per week, which means that it's about how can you scale your production. And then to the question how Mobilicom does it, we have few unique capabilities that work just for Mobilicom if you compare it to other companies on the NASDAQ or stock exchange here in America with related to drones robotics. First, it's important to understand Mobilicom does not need to produce its hardware solution itself. We don't have factories. We are using subcontractors, producer. We give them the electronic drawings. They build it for us based on our IP. We get the electronics, then we burn the IP and software inside, the know-how that we have inside, and makes it the smart solution it is for the communication or for the networking or for the data for the controllers. And only then we are providing that to the customers. So that allow us to scale through contract manufacturing with no capital expenditure upfront. If other companies have to build production sites, we don't do it. We are going and licensing production to additional vendors that work for us. We receive the empty electronics, we burn the IP inside and make it the powerful solution it is. And then we can scale from 1,000 to 10,000 to 50,000 in months without expanding on capital significantly, only small investment to manage the process. And that's unique position to Mobilicom, which means the ROIC of Mobilicom is the secret sauce economically that will have a high trajectory for the company. We are doing production in Israel, the Philippines, and US soil, which will give us the flexibility around the world and to master the needs across the world. And that will be the solution how we are going to scale. And in 2026, we advise that we're going to invest more in stocks and be ready for more than what we already see on the map, because we believe that those that could deliver faster. And we have this great situation of very strong cash position that we can invest in that on scaling our production capacity and scaling the inventory to fulfill orders very fast to customers. And that's few of the critical building blocks that will allow Mobilicom to answer the need that is growing fast and to enjoy the high growth from the market.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned Europe, and I don't want to get political, but President Trump has challenged NATO, I guess, and has had a history since he's been in office about NATO stepping up. And you mentioned that they're increasing their budget from 1 to up to 5% of their budget for defense and stuff. So with Europe obviously ramping up defense spending, and of course the US is racing to close this small drone production gap, I guess I'll say, versus their adversaries. I mean, who knew that Iran had so many drones? Um, where do you see the next largest near-term opportunities for Mobilicom across these defense primes and in international markets, excluding the United States? So we already know the U.S. is going to commit heavily, but do you see India, uh, the Gulf Coast countries, the Middle East, like UAE or Saudi, or do you see NATO allies? Where's the next biggest market for you that you project out?
So I think that first and foremost, as American company that is operating over here and would like to support the nation and support the activity here, and being present here, and of course we would like to serve America first, and we are aligning our entire guidelines, IP, know-how, information, technology, production to the American needs, because we see the massive market evolving over here for defense, and then in commercial, that's the first. Following
Okay.
that, we have the European market that is experiencing growth. We have some good tier companies that are working with us and embedded our solutions. We intend to invest more in expanding into Europe. We've done multiple shows just from the beginning of the year. I think 3 of them exposing our solutions in Europe and expanding our outreach over there. In addition to that, obviously, Israel is important, not because Israel is consuming a lot of drones or robotics, but also is standing on the forefront of innovation. We are doing things over there or proposing things that are working on how to use masses of drones, clusters of drones, and so forth against attack drones as a protection measures or in other means. And that's a unique market. And also Israel is exporting dramatically worldwide. So if you are embedded across Israeli solutions or Israeli company solution, you are being exported to other nations as well in large numbers, which is growing from quarter to quarter. After that, we have something that we already mentioned. We have very good penetration with sales into UAE, which we believe that post this conflict, we will see high rise in the demand because they understand the need and will accelerate that as production and innovation center to the region. We've done a lot of work, and we have tier one partners and customers, not just in UAE, but also in Singapore, serving the Asian Pacific market. We are the first with regulations and solution that meets the requirements of the Japanese, that accelerating over there as well. Obviously, we have our Australian entity and company. So we are based around the globe, but America first, Europe and Israel second, and then some pockets of innovation, as I mentioned, which will be the centers of production and deployment across Asia and the Pacific markets.
Looking forward, I know just given the situation, current geopolitical situation, that our views may be skewed, but you probably from a top level have a better analysis of this. But how do you balance, or how do you view your company's balance going forward between pure defense opportunities and maybe longer term commercial or dual use robotics and autonomy applications over the next 3 to 5 years, saying that we get past this Iran situation in the short term, looking out beyond that?
So what we as a market experiencing is high growth for autonomy and drones, robotics deployment in the defense, and then homeland security and maybe different applications in the other entities of security like police, fire, and so on. Later on, we will see the rise again of commercial applications, which makes economical viable investment to use drones or robotics across inspections of utility and infrastructure, oil and gas, obviously, securing the borders, delivery of solution, last mile delivery, and so forth, will all come back. There was a blip in the history, but that will come back, and we will see that the adoption of technology that is increasing the capabilities and reducing the prices on one hand on the defense will enable also the commercial to do the same, and then that will be another market. But if you're looking on where Mobilicom investment is right now, it's in the cybersecurity of the autonomy platform being drones and robots. We strongly believed and designed that for the last more than 3 years, that autonomy and cybersecurity are going to merge. And if you're looking on Mobilicom, we are actually on the convergence of drones drone solutions in one end, robotics autonomy on the other hand, and cybersecurity. Cyber is going to be the biggest issue going forward. You are going to have different platforms, robotics on the ground or drones in the sky operating, and then there is no mechanism right now on those small-sized drones that protect them like we have on other machinery in hospitals or financial institutes and so on. And that makes me fearful and anxious. So we are using the technology and the teams that we have and the innovation that we have for the last more than 3 years to develop the best cybersecurity protection to the small-sized drones. And we've done it with OS3 and the secure autonomy. We intend to expand that, and that will be the next level, because that will be also adopted by commercial means. I cannot imagine that oil and gas industry that have a CISO, which is looking on all their operational aspects and how to secure the operational aspects on their facilities, is going to use drones or robots in their facilities exposed to all the information and operational, which are not secure cybersecurity wise today. They don't have that. And that's a very big threat. And you know what? their D&O insurance of those CEOs and executive level will not be valid if they didn't do enough or something to protect their cybersecurity operation. It's known. We are the only solution right now in the market that address the new regulation of America, which is already capable of protecting that on NVIDIA or Qualcomm Edge AI solution for robotics and drones. So this is a big market commercial-wise as well that we are already targeting with partners with our cybersecurity, and we are going to see inflection of that, we believe, going forward as the regulations will kick in and mandate that. We've seen the same thing happening in the vehicle industries 7 years ago, and now none of the cars could be sold without proper dynamic active cybersecurity on board. The same will go for robotics and drone. So the activity of Mobilicom in the cyber, in the software side, will be, I think, first foot in the door for our expansion into commercial market that will be followed on by the FCC regulation that even commercial solutions on hardware cannot be produced by non-American entities or non-American. So all of those will impact the growth of Mobilicom beyond defense into commercial market, and the solution that we have aligned and the regulation that is already in place will position Mobilicom as leader in this market that we are innovating right now.
That's great. Can you provide more color on, I understand your recent ISR drone design win and initial order, including the India targeted platform? And what is the expected revenue contribution and potential for follow-up orders?
It's not a secret that India, much like other nations, is accelerating the usage of drones across the board, from defense, homeland security, and other applications. Obviously, they understand the trend. They would like to have local production. They have innovation in India. They also is attracting other companies to come and do cooperation in India and produce it in India. As I mentioned, our capability to shift production to contract manufacturers, but still maintain the IP and maintain our assets and sell it over there is one of the tools that Mobilicom has that we can expand where others unable to do so in their capabilities, because we control the IP of our solution, not like some of our competitors that are unable to do that. And therefore, we have this freedom and capability to expand India and other places as well. There is an application of intelligence drones, group 2, middle-sized one, that, India being a huge subcontinent with large borders and activities across homeland security, needs that, and that's part of the application. It's done for a company that is innovating in this field, and their targeted market is the Indian market with cooperation over there. With the limited things that I can say without revealing things that are not allowed, I can share that it's not the first thing that we are doing in India. There is other things that we've done in India and incubated through, let's say, tier 1 giants in the world. That part of the scalability will be adopting made in India capability, and they trust us to be able to do that as well. So we will have multiple foots on the ground in India, I believe, in the coming year. And we do that through partnership. We don't want to be there ourselves. We prefer to work with partners that can win the market and understand the market, and we will provide the products and technology, and if needed, local production to meet the demand of that market.
Okay. You mentioned tier 1 partners. How many now tier 1 partners are embedding Mobilicom systems into their programs of record or battalion level deployments?
So we've had 6 tier 1s partners across the globe in 2025. And tier 1, from our perspective, and maybe it's a good idea to explain that, it's not just saying it's a giant company, which it's the companies that either already fulfilled and won programs which are significant in volume and value, or giant companies that have the best likelihood to win such programs, and they are incumbent players in this industry. And we are focusing on the industry of small size loitering drones or robotics. So if it's someone that is doing F-35 for the defense of America, it's not a targeted tier one in our market. Our targeted tier one is those that are producing the solution for small size drones or robotics, and that's the tier one. We have finished 2025 with 6 of those in United States, Europe, Israel, obviously, and some in Asia and let's say and Middle East countries. And those are the best of breed companies in the world. We will finish 2026 with 8 to 10 of those, as I've indicated in the recent webinar to investors. We are already in integration with multiple additional platform of tier ones. So it's undergoing already, and that will expand our market share, that will increase our volume of production, that will enable us more cross-sell of our cyber and software solution on top of the hardware we are embedding in first step. So all of that is critical because we believe that tier ones players are the ones that have the best likelihood to win the majority of the market. And then second tier that are ramping up to be tier one is the second thing that we focus on. It's harder to achieve those. It's really hard. Everybody wants to target them, and it's not an easy cycle of sale. But once you win them, you win the jackpot that can guarantee long-term projects and programs that give you production validity for the next 5 and 10 years. And this is where Mobilicom wants to be. And that's why we fulfill this strategy. And we have great success so far with tier ones that are scaling as we speak.
What's the current status of your order backlog and conversion rate from design wins into production revenue?
So we didn't provide. I don't think that we provided any updated number for that. So I cannot give you a number, but I think that the report that we will publish on Q1 will show that, and then we will show how we turn the wins into backlog that is already existing and growing significantly. And I think that with the recent releases that we are going to make, it will be much clearer. So without saying much, there is things that are going to be revealed to the market publicly that will show backlog as well as wins and acceleration, which is all very positive. Not positive, very positive.
Very positive. That's very good to hear.
Yeah.
So you reported 2025 full year results with about 7% revenue growth to 3.4 million. Your gross margins are about 53% on hardware and 41% reduction in monthly operating cash burn to about $159,000. What were the biggest positives for you, and any areas of focus that you're really focused on these results?
I think that 2025 was the year that we established the critical milestones and wins that will enable the scalability in 26 and beyond. That was the important thing, not building more revenue by 20%, 30%. No, it's not that. And I think that there are a few things. First, we inked and closed the significant hurdles of being an American certified, approved by 5 different regulations that we have mentioned. Some of them take between a year to 2 to accomplish, which means that competitors will take much time to close that. And there is a small amount of companies playing in our field. And there we are going to, and we are one of few companies that are going to expose to be a market that is expanding, I don't know, 2 times, 5 times, 10 times. Everything is right in the next 2-3 years. And we are going to enjoy that. And that's a walled garden that we have access to that is ramping up dramatically. And we are going to be enjoying the fruits of that scalability. So that was important. Second, innovation around the autonomy and cybersecurity. We showed leadership, we show innovation, we have brought the ingenuity of our team members that are experts in cybersecurity and drones and robots, and work that we've done behind the scene for the last 3 years to release of product with partnership that we've made with strong leaders in this field. That's another thing that will build revenue going forward. And the shift to additional revenue made from licensing per unit of software capabilities and cyber capabilities, which is going to immensely increase our gross margin and create a big catalyst for growth and profitability. And another thing is, I think, the fact that we worked with one of the with one of the top 2-3 US tier ones in our field for 4 years. It was a long journey of 4 years where we worked together and embedded our solution and demonstrated with them and meet all the changes required by the government and the different corps in America. And finally, they won, based on our solutions, a program of record. That is a significant milestone for them and for us, because that guarantee at least 5 years of continuous orders, because program of record is a special budget, a special program, which is dedicated funds and procurement over long-term years in budget, which is protected within the Pentagon, that identify where America wants to scale. And that means that we have inked that with them, and we are going to enjoy this scalability over the next 5 years. And I believe beyond that, obviously, but initial things it's for 5 years. And that was important because that shows who is the solution of choice. That shows that there is a credible known path for scalability in production. That shows that there is validity for the growth of the company. On the back of that, we believe that this partner will have additional wins in this field. A, because they are a giant company in this field. B, because they have multiple divisions with alternative solutions as well. And third, the winners of program of record usually win more. This is what we've seen in history. More programs in America as well as externally by allied nations. So that's all of those 3 items that I mentioned. In all the regulatory items that we achieved as proven solution in a locked market by one or controlled by few players that Mobilicom is part of, is an important milestone going forward. Second is the innovation around autonomy and cybersecurity, which we are leading the market with. And third, winning programs of record through our partners. All of those will be important pillars for the success of the growth that we are experiencing right now. And that's backed by the fact that there is additional programs on the funnel, the fact that there is additional players, tier 1 or second tier, that are right now integrating with us, that will expand our volume and value, and that's very, very exciting for us going forward. So 2025 was building the infrastructure and winning all of those to set the ground for the growth that we are going to see in 2026, and you will see some of the announcements soon. And second, the things that will come beyond that in 2027 with the software and cyber kicking into the business with revenues and growth across customers.
That's great. That sounds very positive. Look forward to those forthcoming announcements. You ended 2025 with a record $19.1 million in your cash position. And I believe that was more than double from the previous year. You have no debt, and you recently terminated the at the market facility. How long is your current runway, and how will you balance funding growth and then R&D and potential production scaling, which you've talked about is a priority?
So I would like to add another figure that you mentioned earlier in our discussions. Yes, we finished the year with $19 million cash in hand, with no debt, no credit lines, nothing on that end. So very clean company from that aspect. And the burn rate was reduced by 40% on the previous year, which means that we consume, if I remember right, less than $200,000 a month, which is something around $2 million a year. If you use those two numbers together, $19 million cash in hand and $2 million that we use and burn in 2025, you understand how much time we have going forward. And that gives you the crystal clear understanding why we don't need the ATM and why we cancel that, because we believe that in current situation, the current pricing, the current cash in hand, and the burn rate that was reduced dramatically, we don't need to use these two right now, and that's why we canceled that. And it shows us our strengths and capability to invest in more production. Or production is not because there is no capital intensive for us, because of our unique business model of working with contract manufacturing. Is more locations that will enable us to win more programs, because many of the nations want local productions, and we can meet that. And second, it's because we can scale inventory to meet the demand that we are going to see and already seen. Okay, and that's going to be used for that. Obviously, the access in our cash needs, and the fact that the business is growing and we see momentum in production and growth, also another positive thing that means that we have a clear path to cash flow positive. So why to bother ourselves with that ATM, and we have a good trajectory going forward. So all of those adds up, and that's even much brighter picture, I think, from my perspective. And that's why we are excited. And the question is what we are going to do next, because we have abundance of cash, growing business, great gross margin that is only going to increase with the software and cyber, and growing and important backlog that people will see, and so forth. So we intend to first grow organically, and later on look for what else we can do unorganically for inorganic growth, obviously. And this is where we're going to use the access funding that we have, if needed, going forward.
And with the shift now towards higher software and cybersecurity revenue mix, which is continuing to expand your gross margins, um, how do you see that shift moving forward? How do you see that shift continuing to expand and improve your operating leverage going forward?
Can you repeat or emphasize the question? I was confused a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry. Um, how do you see the company's shift towards higher software and cybersecurity revenue uh, as expanding your gross margins and improving your leverage going forward?
So the business model is simple. It's one of the unique position of Mobilicom. We are an end-to-end provider, one-stop shop of the critical building blocks within drones robotics. Those are the elements that provide the majority of the value within the drone, and therefore the gross margin within the drones and robots. This is our if you see, we have 6 product families, or 6 solutions across cyber, software, and hardware. So we started with the hardware, with the mandatory elements like the data link and controllers, which is mandatory to have any drone or robots operating and controlled by persons or operators in the loop. And those are the first foot in the door that gives us a important gross margin and capability to scale from there based on our own IP that we control and own. And then on top of that, we cross-sell to the cyber and software. With our I solution and OS3 solution and secure autonomy solutions, we are going to cross that and cross-sell the solution to the customer. So we have foot in the door with the hardware, and then with the relationship, and it's easy for us to embed the I software on top of the hardware we already have, or to cross-sell to the same customer the OS3 to protect their platform with NVIDIA or Qualcomm AI on the edge. So that's an easy trajectory to expand once you are in with customers. And we've seen that working. We have some customers that started working with us with one, and then let's say the Scarper product, and then continue to incorporate the ICE electronic warfare software license-based solution. And now they're taking the ground control, some of them solution, or going to the security of the platform. So it's a path that we see already happening, which increase the value of Mobilicom within a drone, and increase the profitability of Mobilicom from the gross margin and profitability of Mobilicom going forward. So those are the things, and it's one step in the door with the hardware, and then cross-selling cyber and software on the back of that.
Mobilicom recently participated in the Enforce TAC in Germany, and you also served as a gold sponsor of the U.S. Army Loitering Kamikaze Drone Summit. What feedback or new opportunities can you say that have emerged from these events?
So from the beginning of the year, it was only a quarter, we had multiple events and activities in Europe that we have participated in. We had a few of those in America. I think 4 different events in America that we've done so far. Some we also emphasize small events like the Army loitering event that was done in Alabama, and equivalent things of the Air Force for cyber and software, where you can interact and meet with a decision maker, middle level, bright people in the different corps of America, because those are the officers and people that know the needs, understand the trajectory going forward and the roadmap, allocate the budget, and make the decision. Interacting with them, first to showcase what we have, second to expand on our coming innovation that they need, and how to accelerate adoption is the important part going forward. And that's why we sponsor some of those important events, and B, have very close discussions with those decision makers, and transforming our crystal clear products, regulated and approved by America, into being embedded and used and expose that to more and more usage across the Department of War and different corps in America. So that's why it's important for us to maintain the always. We are selling to the drone and robotics manufacturers by the fact that we are communicating and working directly with the end customer, give us a very good understanding where the market goes, plan ahead, see things that they need, and also help them request Mobilicom from the vendors that produce the robot. Say, hey, we would like this robot or drone as long as you have Mobilicom cyber on top, or as long as you have the electronic warfare of Mobilicom or the data link of Mobilicom. And that makes our life easier when we are competing on bids and processes later on.
Thank you. Oren, uh, what other catalyst would you have? Maybe additional design wins, production milestones, webinars, manufacturing updates, uh, field test events that the investors in Mobilicom or potential investors should watch for in the next 6 to 12 months? What's exciting?
Let's not go for 6 to 12 months. It's too far. Let's talk about the coming 3 months. I mean, there is
All
so
right.
many things that are going to happen. The pace is ramping up. First and foremost, investors would like to see more announcements of significant players working with Mobilicom, scaling production, and buying more to scale their production. These are the first things. They want to see more money, more backlog, more deal flow. And that's the first thing that we are going to deliver. Second is to see more design win with big companies that are already having programs, already having projects around significant markets in the world. And we've mentioned US, and we mentioned Europe, or the Middle East market, and so on. So those customers that if we enter and sign deals with them on new designs for platforms that already have production, which means that they have market share and revenue and streams and so on, is important. So we're going to see that as well. And when we are going to see more innovations of products that were designed for the end customers, working with the end customers' requirement, as I mentioned with our discussion, coming to the market and enabling us to sell more with each system. If we're selling a system and the system is sold by the vendor for $50,000, we want to have 10%, 15%, 20%, 25% of that value go to Mobilicom. We do that by additional products that complement the entire usage and the operational deployment, and by that gaining more value of the deal. And that's why we need those new additional products that we are going to release. You will see us across the board in America, Europe, with the Marines in Washington. You will see us with the SOCOM in Tampa. You will see us in again Virginia with the loitering munition activity. You will see us across the board working with the government and the allies in the industry in the coming quarter. So it's going to be a big quarter for us, a lot of momentum, a lot of activity in the United States, but also elsewhere.
Hmm. That's a lot of things to look forward to. Um, what do you see as what is the competitive landscape in drone cybersecurity, and this secure communications and autonomous software, and how defensible in that with the competition. How defensible is your IP portfolio?
So you mentioned several different things, but let's focus for a moment on cybersecurity for the autonomy of robots and drones. I'm very fearful. I mean, I was fearful several years ago because I've seen what is happening and was not revealed to the market. The fact that you have small size drones, could be 25-pound, 50-pound size, which is a decent size, that can fly 10, 20, 30 kilometers away, 20 miles, let's say, and then it carry a bomb, and then you launch it, and then someone can take control of that, hack it, take control of that, and send it back to you, and then your weapon is now attacking you. It's a fearful thought, and it's not,
Yeah,
I'm not dreaming. I've seen it happening. I can give you one example. I know that there was a few incidents in the past that Russian deployed cybersecurity that took down drones sent by Ukraine or that were sent by America and others allies to Ukraine. I've seen incidents where Iranians sent hundreds of drones in one attack, lifting off the ground, flying some distance, and then suddenly something happened and all of them fell from the sky. And I've seen different incidents of penetration into drones or robotics happening by different industries. It's happening as we speak, and that's a big problem. I'm fearful that our solution here in America are using Wi-Fi communication, which is not safe for military applications, with no cybersecurity protecting the drones' autonomy that some of them carry a bomb. To solve that, and we've seen the issue and the gap 4 years ago, we designed a solution, we brought innovation, we brought the teams that did it for the military side as well as the automotive vehicle market. We implemented product, we went for regulation, we advocate for that in the Congress, and we talking with congressmen and senators. I've done it personally. And we believe that we have the leadership position for autonomy of small drones or robotics right now in the market. I'm not aware, maybe something is happening on other companies that have such a position in the marketplace like Mobilicom for the small size drones robots. That said, the recent thing that was published is the new regulation. We've seen the Secretary of Department of War standing in front of the Pentagon a few months ago and stating that no more they will allow autonomous or sophisticated deployment of systems in the field that are not protected by dynamic online cybersecurity running over there, which is transition from passive one-time testing that we have today, which is not relevant anymore. And therefore, there is a regulation in place that was adopted by this government. They published that. There is also a trajectory where they want to see things being deployed. I think it's about, we estimate, September 2027 as a due date. Therefore, we have great need, big issue and gap that is unmet and not solved, leadership position that we have, and regulation from the market that is going to enforce that. And you understand what could happen within a year from now when everybody will be frantic on meeting this regulation. A, they didn't develop anything by themselves, and B, there isn't any much solutions elsewhere in the market that meet small size drones and robots and already
absolutely.
incorporated on NVIDIA and Qualcomm partners. I mean, it's a
Now,
plug and play
now
for those.
I'm I'm sorry. I hate to cut you short there. We only have about 45 seconds left that they've allowed for the stream, and I'm really sorry. I appreciate everything you've done and the information. I'll just give you a brief minute to anything else you want to share with the viewers and listeners, prospective investors about Mobilicom's vision. And thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to
Thank you very
talking to
much.
you again in the future. But I'll give you an opportunity to finish up and say your
No,
final
no, I
words
think that
here.
we covered quite a lot of things. We had in-depth discussion. I had more time to express the entire thing, top to bottom, and so on. And I think that the coming quarter is exciting quarter for Mobilicom, and you will hear a lot of Mobilicom success in the and activity in the coming quarter.
It sounds uh, exciting and with a lot of anticipation from, I'm sure, from our viewers and future investors. Thank you so much for being with us today. We thank everyone that joined the broadcast. Uh, just a real quick note that it's not an endorsement to buy or sell any security. You have to do your own research and check out their website. There's a lot of information on Mobilicom's website. It's very impressive uh, and clearly done with a lot of expertise on your company. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Jim.